Hello, my name's Zach Gibbs, and I'm a content developer within education services inside Juniper Networks. And today we will be going through the Using Screens with Security Director Learning Byte. All right, here is our example, and the first thing I want to point out in the example is that SRX1 in the middle is connected to the internet through the Gigi 000 interface in the internet zone. And then we have SRX1 connecting to the web server on Gigi 001 in the servers zone. And then next you'll see the attacker device. Now that device is connected to the internet, so it's coming in on an unknown public network, which is the internet, and we're going to be using that to attack the web server. Now the one thing I do want to point out here is that SRX1 is doing destination at on an IP address and translating that traffic to the web server. Now notice how the web server has an IP address of 10.10.10.100. Well, the actual IP address the attacker will be attacking is the public IP address of 10.100.100.100. So keep that in mind. You'll see that as we use the attacker device, we'll be using it towards the 10.100.100.100 address, which SRX1 is translating to the web server address of 10.10.10.100. Okay, with that being said, let's talk about their criteria for the example. We want to protect the web server from ICMP fragments, ping of death attack, land attack, bad IP options, source route, and TCP port scans. Now with TCP port scans, we have to specify an additional parameters to get it to work. In this example, we want to enable TCP port scan protection if 10 attack packets are detected within 0.01 seconds or 10,000 microseconds. When we configure the threshold, it's configured in microseconds, so keep that in mind. So basically how this works is if we have the attacker on the internet, which is attacking our web server, and this single host scans 10 or more ports within 10,000 microseconds, then it's going to enable the TCP port scan protection. So with that, let's go ahead and jump to the J-Web interface and get this going. All right, here is the J-Web interface, and we are in configure mode. So let's go ahead and go to security services, security policy, objects, and then zones/screens. This is where we will configure screens. So here we have two different options. We have zone list and screen list tabs. And of course, it's pretty obvious. We want to go to the screen list tab. And you can see we have nothing configured here. And that's expected. We need to configure some screens. So to begin, let's click the create button. And let's give it a name. Let's call this protect web server. And we can give it a description if necessary. It's really not necessary here. We can generate alarms without actually dropping packets. Now that's important because you might not know the values you want to set and you might end up dropping legitimate traffic. So this is a incredibly valuable parameter if you're unsure of what to do. But with this learning byte, we know what we want to do, so we don't need to worry about that. So you can see here we have some general or main parameters. We have scan, spoof, sweep, defense, and we want to select port scan because we're going to block TCP port scans. And we want to set that threshold to 10,000. Remember, that's in microseconds. Okay, so we have when nuke attack protection. We don't need that. Some IPv6 protection. We don't need that with our example either. So then we have a denial of service tab. Here we have land attack. We need land attack. And then we have ICMP fragment protection. We need that. And then ping of death protection. We want that. And of course, that means that's a gigantic ping packet. Now, something else here, we have large size ICMP packet protection. If you select that, that will also protect against the ping of death attack. And then we have block fragment traffic. Now that means any IP traffic that's fragmented. And that would protect against ICMP fragments as well. But with this, we're just looking to protect against ICMP fragments. It's pretty common to have fragmented just normal traffic, normal IP traffic. So we don't want to block that. And then we also have some SYN-ACK proxy protection. We don't need that as well for our learning byte. Then we go to anomalies. We have the bad option. We want that. And also the security IP protection. And that's all of what we need for the criteria in our example. Now, of course, you may want to select other options in your network, such as the SYN fragment protection. That's, SYN packets are usually never fragmented. So that'd be something that would be great to protect against as well. So we don't need anything else. I mean, we can look through these different tabs. We have different flood defenses, such as the limit sessions and ICMP and UDP floods, as well as different SYN flood protection, and then some IPv6 header attack protection. And the last tab is apply to zone. So this is where we set which zone we need to apply this to. Now you want to set this to the incoming zone. So with that, the internet zone is going to be the incoming zone. That's where the traffic will be coming into from the attacker device, or from any host on the internet, really. But in our example, it's going to be coming in on the internet zone. All right, now that that's done, we just need to commit the configuration. So select the commit options button and select commit. And worked great, no problems. So let's go ahead and jump to monitor mode. Then go to security services. Then go to screen counters. And then once we're here, we need to select a type. We have interface, which is I/F, or zone. And here we're going to select zone, and we're going to select the internet zone to see what's happening. And we can see here that there's nothing happening. And this will refresh by default every 30 seconds. You can manually refresh it over here on the right side of the screen, or you can set that to a different value as well. So you can see here we have a nice graph at the bottom giving us some information on what's happening. And we have the counter table in the top side. And you can also look at a log if you have login configured. I do not have login configured here, so we won't be looking at that part. So with that, let's go ahead and jump to the attacker device and send some attack packets. Okay, so here is the attacker device. First, let's do a port scan. And here we're going to use the Nmap utility, and we're going to scan TCP ports 1 through 60,000 to the 10.100.100.100 address. And remember, that is the public address in our scenario that the attacker is using, and that public address will then be natted to the server private address. And so we're going to start that. We'll give that a few seconds to run. Note that if we didn't have any screen protection set up, that this port scan would finish in about 5-6 seconds. But as you might realize, it's taking longer than 5-6 seconds. And with the port scanning protection enabled, this is going to take around 6 minutes to finish because it's not getting any ports open. It's the Nmap utility is waiting because it keeps trying to scan ports and nothing's happening. And so let's go ahead and cancel that because I don't want to waste that much time just waiting for it to finish. And then let's go ahead and send some ping packets. Now remember that we have ICMP fragments blocked. So if we set a size to 100 bytes, it's going to go through okay because the MTU on that path is 1500 bytes. So that's fine. But if we set this to 2000, it doesn't go through. And that's because we're fragmenting these ICMP packets. And so we're blocking those in our screens. Okay, so let's go ahead and leave that running and then jump to the J-Web to have a look at things. All right, so here is the J-Web interface again. And as you can see in the graph, we do have statistics incrementing. We can see the TCP port scan set at 23, the ICMP fragment 26. That will auto refresh in just a few seconds, and we'll have more. See, it just auto refresh. TCP port scan still at 23 because we stopped that attack, so it's no longer in use. Now the ICMP fragment will continue to increment. It went up to 84, and that'll refresh here shortly and continue to increment. And we can look at the counters up here. We can see TCP port scan as well. And then we scroll down, we'll also see ICMP fragment, which matches what we see in the graphs. So that brings us to the end of this Learning Byte. In this Learning Byte, we demonstrated how to configure screens using J-Web. So as always, thanks for watching.
Visit the Juniper Education Services website to learn more about courses. View our full range of classroom, online, and e-learning courses. Learning paths, industry segment and technology-specific training paths. Juniper Network's certification program, the ultimate demonstration of your competence. And the training community, from forums to social media. Join the discussion.